office. Unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre is the Minister for National Security, Justice, all of the things that our all of the things that our society seems to be lacking right now. It's sad. It's sad that this is where we have found ourselves. But it is the truth. Join me once again, St. Lucia, as we explore all of the things, all of the real issues. Oh, not no relation to the real issue, the show that was just cancelled on NBC. And by the way, guys, this is something that we're going to explore as well. Not because I am happy that a competitor is out of the runnings, because really, was he a competitor? Nah, he wasn't. But because of the revelation, you see, the letter that was given to Mr. Daniel from his former employer, NBC, speaks volumes. It speaks volumes, volumes that we need to be exploring. Oh, yes. We need to take the time and look at this letter and see it for what it really is. And we need to ask ourselves the hard questions. What does this really mean? We need to. It's very telling. Very, very telling, this letter. And we need to explore it. We need to explore this letter. And let's not have a attitude to this letter. Because I know a lot of people will say, they will brush it under the rug, they will ignore it, they will make it seem as if it is insignificant, but guys, it is not. But that's just one of the things that we have to deal with today. So, without further ado, let's get into the meat of the matter. And I want to begin by thanking all of my loyal listeners, those of you tuning in on the Fire 107.7 link. Good afternoon to you. Welcome to the broadcast. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Those of you tuning in via Facebook, good afternoon to you as well. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to the broadcast. This is Hardtalk. Guys, number one on our agenda today, crime. It's been a while since we've come here and started talking about crime. Mainly because There hasn't been much movement in that arena. I mean, things have been relatively quiet as the carnival season heated up, and we were hoping against hope and crossing our fingers and our toes that we had seen the end of homicides for a little while for 2026. The most positive among our society, the more positive ones among our society, they were hoping against hope and praying against everything that we would not see another homicide for the year, that the numbers would, and that we would break the very unflattering records, not in a negative way, but in a positive way. The more optimistic among us were thinking that, Lord, let there not be another homicide for 2026. Let the rest of the year go by in sunshine and rainbows and understanding among our people. And I stand here, or I sit here before you today, sorry to disappoint. In one day, Saturday, there were 2 murders between maybe a couple of hours. The first incident occurred in Mac in Bexon. A 24-year-old man was shot. And this young man was taken to hospital and was in a fight for his life. But unfortunately, on Sunday, he succumbed. We were really praying for him. We were rooting for him. We were hoping that he would make it through. But alas, that was not to be. Hours after he was shot, another young man, this time a 27-year-old man, was shot in the community of Jackmill. Fortunately, this individual died on the spot. There was nothing the authorities could do to bring him back. And as sad as these incidents are, with all the grief that we were going through, when we were hanging our heads in disappointment, when we were saying, my goodness, man, these guys are at it again. We hear the news of another shooting, this time in Castries East, the constituency of the Prime Minister and Minister for Justice and National Security. Even more disturbing, this individual was shot just in front of the Mindu Philip Park. Crazier still is the fact that this individual was shot a stone's throw away from the Prime Minister's own constituency office in Masha. We don't have all the details, We we don't know the individual's name. What we do know is that when the EMTs of the fire service, when they responded, this individual was found with no vital signs, and the scene was handed over to the police department. 3 young men dead. And we know their names. I think the individual who died in Marsha has been identified as Jordan Lancico. The one in Mark, Joel Mercer. And hold on, just bear with me a minute, guys. I need a little help to identify the one. The one in Jackmill has been identified as Jason Scooby Fuswa. 3 young men gone. Like an individual who's fond of calling this program says, we are witnessing an extinction, systematic erasure of the young St. Lucian man. And it is sad. And today I don't want to hear anyone tell me that no government can stop crime. I'm not asking you to stop it. Mel, Bexor, and Marsha are not asking you to stop it. They're asking you to mitigate it. They're asking you to control it. They're asking you to remove the environment, fix the problems that create it. And it will stop on its own. A doctor cannot kill a disease or stop a disease from progressing. But he can heal the problems that enable the disease to manifest. And in doing so, he allows the disease to be cured. Now, I know I've been monitoring the pre-cabinet press briefing. Of course, you know, I no longer attend this event for fear of being accused of targeting political, cabinet ministers. Simply put, when somebody's aiming a gun at you, you don't give them bullets. So, I have no choice but to wait for when these briefings are aired so that I can bring them to you and bring the profound points to you. On previous occasions, the Minister of Justice, the Minister of National Security has attempted to shift blame and pretend that crime is like a hurricane. You cannot stop the hurricane from hitting. You don't know where it's going to hit. You don't know what damage will be done. All you can do is wait for it to do what it has to do and then pick up the pieces. That is not true. That is not the way of things. Every situation has enabling factors and disabling factors. And the same is true for crime. There are so many schools of thought as to what enables crime, what breeds criminals, and how it can be treated. People believe that crime is a side effect of poverty. And in some instances, yes, I agree totally. Some people believe crime is a result of poor social structure, moral decline, and a move away from spiritual guidance. I agree. There are kids who come from good homes. They don't want for anything. They're not rich, but they're not poor. And they choose to go down that road. So there is data to prove that poor morals and a shift away from spiritual guidance can contribute to crime. Still, some believe that crime is a mental defect, people with sociopathic behaviors and psychopathic behaviors, and these people, their minds are warped. There is evidence to suggest that all of these things individually are predispositions to criminal conduct. I agree with all of that. Hey, show me the evidence. I don't tell people you don't know what you're talking about. I tell them, you say this, but show me the evidence. And if you show me the evidence to back your claim, then I can concur with that. I personally believe that every situation is different. And I believe that there needs to be a multi-pronged approach to crime. But you know what I don't believe in? I don't believe that a prime minister, a minister of justice, a minister of national security, a minister of people empowerment and constituency development should collect a salary every month from taxpayers simply to tell us that he cannot do the job we are paying him for. I don't believe in that. That to me is ridiculous. And that's what we have had over the past almost 5 years. That's what we're getting. Excuses. I don't believe in excuses. I believe in putting a plan together. I believe in putting the moving parts in place that will make the plan work. And I believe in executing the plan. And do I believe that our law enforcement officials, and when I say law enforcement officials, people, I am talking from the top to the bottom, and you have to start with the head. And the head of our law enforcement in this country is the Minister for Justice and National Security. He has to provide the policy direction that the judiciary and law enforcement will take. He has to provide the direction, the limits, the parameters that within which they are to do their jobs efficiently with fairness and justice in mind. And if that gentleman is not leading by example, if he is not doing his job, where does that leave the judiciary, the laws, the courts, the judges, the magistrates, the lawyers and prosecutors? Where does that leave them? And if, where does that leave the police? Everybody would be running around like chickens without heads. So ultimately, the buck starts with the Minister of Justice, who is the Prime Minister. I'm not asking for the Prime Minister to do anything out of the way, anything untowards, anything extraordinary, anything of which his job description does not cover. I don't want him to bring me water from the moon. I don't want him to turn the sun green. I don't want him to color the wind. I just want him to do his job. And I do not believe that this is asking too much. You are the Minister of National Security. Start making the nation safe. And you're not the only one to shoulder this hefty burden. You have a Minister of Crime Prevention and Home Affairs. He is directly responsible for putting together, well, in my mind, although you've said differently, but his portfolio implies that his responsibility rests with creating avenues to deter crime and empowering the police to solve crime. That's my interpretation of affairs. You are national security. You deal with everything, not just crime. You deal with keeping our borders safe. You deal with foreign policy to secure our borders and our well-being. You deal with everything. Policy direction. And Home Affairs. Your buddy at arms is responsible for the day-to-day. You are responsible for the policy. With the two of you working arm in arm, we should not have this kind of uptick in violent crime and other criminal behavior. But there's a disconnect somewhere. Because day in, day out, week in, week out, we continue to see a rise in crime and this careless loss of young lives. And all we get are excuses. Nobody can stop crime. You think no prime minister wants a country that is torn by crime. But so, your actions and your words do not align. Your actions and your words, they're not, they just don't give the right message. The right message. Because there's a lot of words, but there's no action. who are tasked with ensuring the safety of our citizenry. The ministers, like I said, of national security, justice, the Minister of National Security and Justice, the Minister of Home Affairs and Crime Prevention. Below that, you have the Attorney General, the DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions. You have, well, not to mention the two permanent secretaries, the permanent secretaries in the aforementioned ministries, the Commissioner of Police, the hierarchy, the association. All of these people, they need to work together to ensure law and order in this country. If these people either are not doing the jobs that we are paying them to do, or they are running around like hamsters in a wheel, not getting anywhere, expending resources, but not making any kind of headway. So we need to know which is it. We need to know which is it. That he has given the police the most equipment ever before. He's built a police station. He refurbished custody suites. He's given them one moment. Shouldn't we sit down and start all over? Because obviously something is wrong. Because we still have the problem. The problem still persists. Now, Titus Breville, former candidate for Babonneau, was once on my show. And he made a very profound statement. He said, when governments enact policies, the first question that should be asked is, what problem are you trying to solve? That implies that when a policy is enacted by government, it is enacted in order to solve or to mitigate a need. So the policy to provide, and this is just a figure off the top of my head, I'm just making a figure up right now. The policy to provide 100 vehicles to the police, that should be done in order to solve a problem, a need for transportation. Likewise, the policy to refurbish custody suites and the one to build the Grosley police station. But now that these policies have been enacted, and we realize that the problem of crime that we were trying to solve is still not solved satisfactorily, isn't it time that we go back, we assess the actual needs of law enforcement, we assess the socio-economic issues or situations that contribute to crime, and then we act accordingly? I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. If the problem is that all of the policies, all of the things that the Prime Minister has given to the police officers is not contributing to an abatement in criminal activity, isn't it time to develop a new strategy? Isn't it time that the Ministry of Crime Prevention, because the Prime Minister said the Ministry of Crime Prevention was never intended to solve crime. It was never intended to stop a crime from happening. Now, in my mind, I am now beginning to question, then why do we have a Ministry of Crime Prevention if it cannot prevent crime? But I digress. I'm not the Prime Minister. So he might have a greater strategy in mind. I don't know. But isn't it time? Isn't this the opportune time to utilize the technocrats? Although he says the technocrats come up with reports, but they are not politicians. But we don't need politicians. We need results. We need results. How many more young men must die? How many more young women must lose their lives? How many more families must suffer trauma simply because our leaders insist on playing politics with the national security of our country? I wonder if the Prime Minister is even affected, because he says he is affected. But we don't see any difference in behavior. We don't see any urgency. We don't see any zeal to tackle the problem effectively. So when the Prime Minister says he gives, or he wants to offer condolences to the people who lost their lives, and we interpret that to mean that the Prime Minister does not give a hoot about the people in this country, are you telling us that we are being political? We're not. We're simply leading or following in his example. And we cannot be blamed for that. We cannot be blamed for that. To the families of the deceased, we here at Fire FM, on behalf of all of us and our families, our staff, we issue our condolences. We send our condolences to the families of the deceased. We wish you strength, health, and comfort in your time of need. And we will continue to advocate and continue to pray that the ones responsible for plunging your families into grief will face the justice that they deserve. To the Prime Minister, to the Minister of Home Affairs and Crime Prevention, to the Attorney General, to the DPP, to the Commissioner of Police, to the President of the Bar Association, and to the Chief Justice of this country, we ask, when will you act? When will you get off your laurels and do the job that we are paying you to do? How many more of our young men and our young women must suffer the consequences of your dereliction of duty? Because that is what it is. And you can spin it, you can twist it, you can turn it, you can do whatever you want with it. But that ultimately is the truth. You have neglected your duty to the people of St. Lucia. You have neglected your duty to the citizenry who pay your salaries. And I am here to tell you on behalf of each and every one related to, living in, with ties to the island of St. Lucia, that you have failed us. And we will stomach this failure no more. Now, we'll take a quick commercial break, guys. And when we come back, we are going to explore even further what is going on in this country. And we're going to go back. We're going to go back to Tuesday later on in the broadcast. Because on Tuesday, the House of Parliament had a sitting. And boy, oh boy, you guys may have missed something that was very essential. But you know your girl is very observant, and you know I will bring it up and highlight what needs to be highlighted. Stay tuned. Don't touch that dial, because it's going to be a whopper of a show today, guys. I have so many revelations for you guys. I hope you are ready. Stay tuned.
Is your solar water heater tank leaking, worn out, or no longer performing efficiently? Upgrade your unit without the cost of a completely new system. Tropical Solar now offers tank upgrades and replacements for existing solar water heating units, including systems from other brands. Keep your existing heating panel and replace the tank with a reliable Tropical Solar tank designed for lasting performance and efficiency. Need a panel replacement too? Tropical Solar can help with that as well. Call Tropical Solar today for more information. In Castries, 453-1868. In Grosley, 450-8201. And in Vieux-Fort, 454-6344. Tropical Solar, giving new life to your existing solar water heating system.
You already know the power of Lix products on your clothes and household. You Lix your whites and colored clothes, leaving them fresh and scented. You Lix your dishes and left your hands protected with vitamin E. You Lix your floors, even Lix your toilet. Now we expand and bring you 3 new scents in our fabric softener: Balmy Sunshine, Summer Sunshine, and Thousand Flowers. And Lix those stains off of colored clothes with Lix Color Safe Bleach. Lix went even further with Bond Care Body Soap Bars in deodorant and antibacterial. So let's turn this antibacteria out and refresh your timeline. Your product's giving you licks? Then choose Licks from Today Distribution Inc. Available at all leading supermarkets.
The summer heat with a relaxing glide down the river. With your cares behind as you immerse yourself in the tranquility of nature. Kids home from school, no problem. Take them along on an unforgettable adventure. St. Lucia Bible Rafting introduces its Summer River Special. Start with a welcome cocktail to set the mood. Then enjoy a 90-minute guided tour and a cooler filled with drinks for your refreshment. Tours start from 9:30 a.m. and go out every 2 hours with the last tour at 3:30 p.m. Adults pay 100 EC per person. Kids ages 5 to 11 years old, 50 EC. We are located in the Rosa Valley next to St. Lucia Distillers. For reservations, call 1758-720-2020. Don't forget to like St. Lucia Bible Rafting on Facebook and Instagram. St. Lucia Bible Rafting. Let us take you from stressed to relaxed in 90 minutes flat.
Pretty soon my land will be gone in the hands of
Fire FM 107.7 presents Full Disclosure, a hard-hitting political program bringing you the facts on political issues. Hosted by Foster Chico every Monday from 4 to 7 p.m. on Fire FM 107.7. Call us at 758-572-3473. It's Full Disclosure this Monday and every Monday 4 to 7 p.m. with Foster Chico.
Mr. Speaker.
Looking for a new way to enjoy your St. Lucian vacation? Book a tailor-made tour with Seabreeze Adventures. Explore the island's untouched natural beauty as you visit hidden coves and beaches along the coastline with any wonderful whole or half-day excursions. We offer a variety of adventure opportunities, including sport fishing, sunset cruises, island adventures, whale and dolphin watching, and water taxi service. To book, contact Captain Warren at telephone number 1-713-3196. Seabreeze Adventures, not just a tour, but an adventure. All right, good afternoon to you. Welcome back to Fire 107.7 FM. This is Hard Talk. And before we move on to the second segment of the show, let us take in some of the comments on the WhatsApp platform. Somebody says here, oh man, encouragement. I love it so much. Somebody says, here is a profound point that you are making. God has blessed you with great insight. You understand what is happening. This is a spiritual attack against our men. It is the result of a dark work aimed at destroying our future generations. I cannot even argue with this because this seems so unreal. Somebody says tactical genocide is at work. Nothing is being done because many in positions and who are well placed are complicit. Tactical genocide. Somebody says they wanted Allen to stop the crimes when they were in opposition. Now they are in power. They are blaming the people. Another person says, I have said many times that this guy is mashing up security. This is what he is and this is what he does. For a man who knows all of what's taking place behind the scenes, yet still your actions do not contribute towards solving crime or even preventing crime. This also makes him and his member for Micoud North the crime ministers. Somebody says maybe we should ask if he is affected in a good way. This is what we did not think to ask. Somebody says, I tell you already, Philip J. Pierre doesn't care about y'all in the country. Somebody says here, Angie, can a weekend pass peacefully without hearing about a murder or even reckless accidents? That is the question on all of our minds, listener. We really, really wish that this would happen, but that doesn't seem to be the case. But let's move on to something else. You see, crime and its fallout is not the only thing that we St. Lucians are dealing with. We are also dealing with a very high, very debilitating cost of living crisis. And this crisis, whether you want to believe it or not, can contribute to crime. So imagine my surprise when a statement, and before I go into that, let me just give you a little background. So, St. Lucians are currently paying $16.75 for fuel at the pump per gallon. Notwithstanding the fact that the price of oil are of today $70.60 US. Now, the last time that occurred in St. Lucia or on the world market, the last time that the price of oil went up to $70, St. Lucians were paying $13.20 per gallon at the pump. That price was considered an outrage. The bus drivers went on strike. The petroleum dealers organization was in uproar. Things were bad. Things were horrible. The government of the day was accused of taxing the people unmercilessly. In fact, I believe the term that was used was placing their boots on the necks of the citizenry. Today, St. Lucians are paying an added 2.5% health and security levy, compounded because it is taxed on the price of the goods plus the price of the VAT. We're also being asked to pay 25.5 cents per kilowatt of electricity, up from 7 cents that we paid just a few months ago. We're facing an increase in water rates that is supposed to take effect at the end of this month. And we're not even sure what the rate is going to be, what the water bills are going to be like. And we are waiting with bated breath because many of us, myself included, we've not had a steady supply of pipe-borne water in our homes in a long, long time. In fact, the Prime Minister has been, the Minister for People Empowerment and Constituency Development, has been repeatedly asking the public to participate in rainwater harvesting. Never mind the fact that it is the purview of the Water and Sewage Company Limited to provide every St. Lucian business, household, institution with a steady supply of potable water, potable pipe-borne water, that is. So we're not getting the service, but we're being asked to pay more just for knowing that the service is available. I assume. Because I don't have water in my pipe, do you? Added to that, because we have to put everything in context, guys. Higher electricity bills, higher water bills, a 2.5% health and security levy, which, by the way, as we were discussing earlier, is not helping with our national security at all. So we don't even know where this money is going. And higher food prices, all stemming from a sharp increase in the price of fuel. The price of fuel on the global market keeps receding, but our fuel bills keep increasing. So we're not safe in our own homes, and we're being taxed into poverty. And we've been asking the government to please find some way to ease the squeeze on the local population. And when the Prime Minister was asked, what can he do with regards specifically to the price of fuel imported by Lucelec, because we saw his counterparts in Barbados and St. Vincent put mitigating measures in place to ensure that their electricity generating companies were able to import cheaper fuel for energy generation and so pass on the savings to the citizenry. We were told, and I quote, there's nothing the government can do because we do not pay VAT on electricity. And the reason why we are able to buy cheaper building materials, in the Prime Minister's words, is because we pay VAT on building materials, and because he wants the construction boom to continue, he has exempted the VAT from building materials. But since we're not paying VAT on electricity, crapo smoke our pipe. And we accepted that. That was the Prime Minister's words, we accepted it. But guys, I wonder if we should continue to accept that excuse in light of the information that has just come out. And this piece of information, it puts a spotlight, it shines a huge spotlight on the priorities of this government when it comes to the affairs of the people. What am I getting at? A letter, a nondescript letter that was sent to a talk show host in a talk show host from a local media company. And I'm going to read the letter here. And I want you to pay particular attention to the second paragraph of this letter. And the letter reads, due to financial constraints which has resulted in meeting the commitments of salaries on a monthly basis, your role as a talk show host for the program Real Issues can no longer be financed by McDowell Broadcasting Corporation, MBC, effective June 22nd, 2026. The show Real Issues has to be financed through advertisements and the support. That's the part I want you to hear. And the support of the St. Lucia Labour Party government, in which the show only received financing for the latter months of last year, 2025. The program does not generate any revenue through sponsorship or advertisement. Arrangement will be made to pay your severance for the 4 years and 2 months of service you have given to MBC. On behalf of the directors, management, and staff, we wish you the very best in your future endeavors. Let me read the highlighted part of the letter again. It's just 2 sentences. The show Real Issues has to be financed through advertisement and the support of the St. Lucia Labour Party government, in which the show only received financing for the latter months of last year, 2025. Now, I know some of you are going to say to me, Angie, last year we didn't have a war in Iran. Last year we were not paying higher prices for electricity. So this is irrelevant. But is it? Is it really? Because you would recall that last year we were paying $16. Gas was capped at $16 a gallon, while the price of fuel, of crude oil on the market was dropping even cheaper than what it is now. And you recall the Prime Minister's explanation as to why he did not lower the price of gas. You remember that? You remember him saying that he did not do that because the savings we would have gotten would have gone to things that, help me remember his words, people. Oh yes, the savings, the money we would have saved would have gone to things that were not productive. And so he decided not to lower the price of fuel and to let us catch our derriere. I'm paraphrasing. Let us catch our royal, because he knows better than us what to do with our money. You recall that last year, goods on supermarket shelves were going up because of that exorbitant price of fuel. Last year, quietly, import duties on goods and commodities went up. And we were told supply chain issues. Last year we had shortages of sugar and flour. And we were told supply chain issues. So I have a question. Which supply chain really had the issues? Was the supply chain leading to the real issues? Was it a question of our money being supplied to the real issues? So government couldn't afford to buy adequate sugar, they couldn't afford to buy adequate rice, they couldn't afford to buy adequate flour? Chess, your namade kodi jukba. I mean, what was the issue really with our supply chain? I beg the question. I beg to answer the question, Mr. Prime Minister. Were you aware? But as the Minister of Finance, you have to be aware. As the Minister of Finance, you have to be aware that your ministry was financing propaganda while the people of St. Lucia were struggling to make ends meet. Were you aware? Was it some technocrat in your party, in your ministry, sorry? Was it some technocrat in your party signing those checks behind your, sorry, in your ministry, signing those checks behind your back? And let's explore the advertisements part. So this is really great, people. You all need to think, you all need to really read and understand. The show has to be financed through advertisements and sponsorship from the government. Is this implying that this Labour Party administration is using the marketing budget of government entities like Invest St. Lucia, Export St. Lucia, St. Lucia Tourism Authority, CPMC, to finance their campaign? Because that would be very interesting, wouldn't it? And you would understand why there are so many biased programs on the air. So, you telling me that this is not a form of corruption? This is not misuse of government funds? The advertisements for CIP, I am the INCIP, for St. Lucia Jazz, for St. Lucia Carnival, for what else do they advertise? All of their programs that they are rolling out, all of these things, are these advertisements doled out in such a way as to finance a continuous campaign, a continuous political campaign for the St. Lucia Labour Party? Is this what we are witnessing in this country? Do we understand the gravity of these revelations in this letter? and the questions that are arising from them? Do we understand exactly what this means? Have we opened our eyes to the reality of what is going on in this country? That the St. Lucia Labour Party administration, according to this letter, has been using, allegedly, the marketing budgets of various government entities, not just to promote policies and programs, but to finance their continuous campaign. Let me just let that sink in for a bit. Let me let you all understand what is going on. Do you know what this means? This is corruption, people. This is fraud. This is well, let me tell you, when you believe that, when you think that this Labour Party administration has reached its zenith in dishonesty and corruption, something happens to make you realize that all of what you've uncovered over the years is simply the tip of the iceberg. Channeling government funds to sponsor a continuous campaign, all in an effort to protect the victory. And poor Shelly Belly, out on his derriere, because now that they have won the bone, they don't need the attack dogs anymore. The battle has been won, and there is no need for a champion dog fighter in the ring. Sad, sad, sad. When will it end, St. Lucia? When would the corruption and mismanagement end? And if we have to take a look, a closer look, at all the other shows on the airwaves that are singing the praises of this corrupt government, what are we going to uncover? I shudder to think. What are we going to uncover? Because it seems to me the deeper we dig, the more we realize that we are simply scratching the surface. My. I wonder who came up with this plan. And I wonder how the Minister of Finance is going to respond, because you know he will tell you that it is the technocrats that are doing things. He doesn't know. He wasn't there. He didn't see. He didn't hear. he will suddenly go deaf, dumb, blind, and mute. I wonder who came up with this ingenious way to steal from the government. Because that is what it is, people. That is what it is. Stealing from the government. And while people are saying, oh, poor Shelton, you've lost your job, now you are realizing that it was you who were bamboozled. You, not Shelton, who has gotten the short end of the stick. Because monies that could have gone to subsidizing the price of fuel at the pump, subsidizing the cost of living, the cost of electricity, monies that could have gone to modernizing Wasco, to funding the hospital, towards opening St. Jude's, towards fixing our dilapidated infrastructure, towards potholing, towards buying medications for OKEU, towards cleaning the bed bugs out of Betty Wells Urban Polyclinic. That money was used to pay Shelton Daniel to pull the wool over the citizens' eyes. Sit down and think about it, people. Sit down and think about it. For 4 years. I had to read that letter again, you know. Last year, we were struggling with a lack of bed space at OKEU. Last year, you remember all the hue and cry over people lying on the floor? People not being able to see a doctor for days, sitting at accident and emergency. A lack of nuns. Last year, all of the doctors and nurses employed at OKEU, the executive staff, they were leaving. Last year is the same time that Dr. Merle Clark wrote the letter that said, and I quote, "It has never been this bad." Last year we were paying $16 a gallon for fuel. Last year, St. Jude's was a memory. It still is a distant memory. Last year, parents were struggling to send their kids to school. Bus drivers were paying more for insurance. We had poor lighting on our roads. Our road networks were dilapidated. Our rivers were not desilted. So while we're laughing at Shelton, or while we're saying he was too biased, that right to happen to him, and I know a lot of people are thinking that, but y'all are missing the point. His salary was coming from your pocket. Instead of fixing the myriad of problems that we were facing, the government was paying Shelton to spread propaganda. Have you realized that? Instead of buying beds for OKEU, instead of paying doctors and nurses, instead of buying medicine, just that one hospital, the government was paying for a propagandist to spread their message. From your taxpayer dollars, from your pocket. Am I the only one who sees this? And you think Shelton is the only one? I doubt. I doubt. Shelton is the only one we know of so far. The only one we know of so far. There are more. I guarantee you there are more. But they've simply not come out of the woodwork yet. They have not been flushed out yet for us to know, but there are more. All of the issues that were plaguing us last year, all of them, and the money was being allocated not to help us, not to make our lives better, not to put us first, but to protect the victory. Just let that sink in for a moment. Just let that sink in. Boy, I tell you. Let me go to the comments and see what's going on over there. Somebody says, oh, you finally got that letter. I didn't want to bring it up last week. Now that you have it, it's official. Somebody says, people, your tax money paid for a program that was campaigning for a political party. Then the agriculture high heels minister is trying to talk about people breaking the law. Somebody says, Shelton Daniel from NBC, he was too arrogant. Frederick will pay him. Another says, corruption at its best. Another says, then PJP called the champagne a big fish. I can't wait for the time when the champagne to smelly fish. Okay. Another one says, but these same labors want to give people lessons. People who are against their dishonesty. Somebody says, sorry, Shelton, but you never had a job. At NBC, you had a hub. Now that you've lost, you never lost your job. Grow some backbone, not propaganda seeds of discord. We have a call on the line. Good afternoon to you, sir. You are on the air.
Good afternoon to you, Angie, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Good afternoon.
Angie, very good topic this afternoon with regards to this letter, and I'm treading on the side of caution. Was this letter verified?
Not yet. I don't have the full letter, just what was posted. But if it
Okay, so
is
I want to.
the allegations,
Right.
but then NBC has not come out to say that the letter is a
And
fake. If listen to me, it took the SLP 3 minutes, 3 minutes to put out a press release after Alan Shastney visited the St. Jude's site last year. You recall that?
yeah, I recall that vividly.
So if this letter was a
So,
fake, trust me, they would have come out and
mm,
denounced it.
exactly. I say that I'm trading on taking caution because um we do not want to fire FM to face any legal issues. So that's why I started by saying I'm trading on the side of caution. But however, I can use the safer word to allegedly. So allegedly, we saw this letter over the weekend where state resources are being used to fund campaigning. State resources. And when I saw that, I was taken aback, Angie, because it tells me that when we face all those issues of lack of proper health care, when you go to the hospital, they have to turn you away, they have no beds. When you go to the hospital, you can't get proper medication. The crime situation, lack of there's so many things issues that require attention. When I say attention, meaning money to provide to the people. And heritage allegedly we've seen state resources that should have been going to the people, the common man, is being channeled through our TV station so that the government of the day can protect the victory at any cost. That you know which country does that? You know which regime regime does that? Communist regimes do that. They control the media, and that's what we're seeing in every single sector. This SLP administration, Angie, sadly, they have controlled the media. They have even infiltrated the unions. They have infiltrated Carnival, which is supposed to be um, our cultural event. They have controlled that with all their political shenanigans, and they put particular strategic people in particular positions to control the wheels of power. So even in Carnival, it's politicized. So I want solutions to understand what's happening here. Your government is using your money and channeling it to a radio station or television station to do its own campaigning, to push its own propaganda. That's what communist regimes do, Angie. So whilst you cannot get proper medication at the hospital, whilst you cannot get a bed, a decent bed to if you fall sick, God forbid, at the hospital, your government, Saint Lucia, is using your money to campaign and to pay its political operatives, those individuals that spread their propaganda. Your tax money, your tax dollar is used to pay them, allegedly. When your children cannot get a proper, the schools need repairs, urgent repairs, and it requires money, that money is going to pay allegedly propagandists to push this government's political agenda. That in itself is worrying. And I'm urging and I'm encouraging Mr. McDowell, Dr. McDowell. I understood he's the managing director, whatever position he holds at NBC, to come out and refute that letter. Come out and say that letter is fake. It's fake
No, but
news.
you
It's
cannot
not
tell
true.
you caller. You cannot tell the man what to do. You can ask that he comes out and clarifies whether or not the letter
Right, that's
is.
what I'm saying.
No, no, no. You
I'm
said you
right.
telling him
So
come and say it's not true, but he could when he comes out and says it's not true, he could very well be lying just to please you. He needs to
yes,
come
so
out and
right.
clarify whether or not
R-
this letter is
Right. So
authentic.
correct. So again, through you, Angie, and through your medium, I'm appealing to Dr. McDowell. Come out and say or refute whether this letter is true or not. Because it's on social media, it has made it rounds on social media. Because it's worrying. And that is, like you rightly said, Angie, and you're correct. This is the heights of corruption. Because you expect your tax dollar. St. Lucians expect the tax money to go to the right channels, to go to the right places, such as to provide proper health care, education, sports, so that people can have a decent way of life. Looking at the situation in the gas. That money allegedly that we seen or we hearing was being channeled to NBC for a talk show could have gone for the prime minister could have used that to cushion the pressure on the street on gas so that he can have the financial wherewithal to bring down the price of gas so that the average person can get a soulagement. You understand my point, Angie? So that the bus drivers would not want to or would not be forced to request or demand a bus fare hike. Already people are reeling on the pressures of inflation. We've seen sooner or later water rates will go up. And I'm seeing and I'm paying close attention.
Sooner, not
Wasco
later.
cannot
Listen, caller, those water rates are set to increase this month. So the bills that you are going to get maybe tomorrow or day after, or the ones you've already gotten, the rates are already up. You're already paying or being charged these increased rates.
for a service, Angie, that we're not getting.
Yeah.
A shabby service. And I'm observing, Have you noticed, Angie? Have you observed that Wasco is a sponsor for every single carnival event?
Mm-hmm.
It's
But
like I think it was
what are they
either it's a bronze
sponsoring?
sponsor, a silver
But
sponsor.
what are they sponsoring? Because they could be sponsoring money or they could be sponsoring a service. So what exactly are they sponsoring?
They're sponsoring money because I heard them over the weekend. There was a show, the Calypso semi-finals, and they were either a silver or platinum sponsor, Wasco. So Wasco now can find the money to sponsor, and I'm not against sponsoring our cultural events. Don't get me wrong, because the hacks will twist and turn what we say. So I want to make an early declaration there. I'm not against that. What I'm saying is, if Wasco is saying it has a financial problem, it's in financial difficulty and cannot provide a reliable supply of potable water to us, the consumer, where are they getting the money to sponsor all those carnival events?
I
Something
think
is drastically wrong.
I think maybe Wasco is providing water for those events. I don't think they're
Water to do what,
providing
Angie?
for the people to drink, wash their hands, use the toilet. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not there.
Angie,
I don't
you've
know.
been a devil's advocate, and I understand you've been very sarcastic, and I get that. But I'm just saying to you that there's a serious
I don't
problem because
know,
if
caller.
was
I don't know. Like you, I am speculating. Information is missing. Speculation is rife.
so in the absence of information, speculation is
That's
rife, and
right.
I'm agreeing with you. But I'm just saying, Wasco not providing no kind of water for people to wash their hands at those events. They are sponsoring those events
Caller, but you don't know that. Are you there? Okay, we've
if they have
lost
the money,
this.
Wasco.
Hello?
If they have the money, yeah, I can hear you. Sorry.
Caller, but we don't know. We don't know.
Okay, so since we don't know, we can speculate. So Wasco has
Yes.
the money
So you're
to give
speculating.
all.
You're speculating that Wasco has money. I'm speculating Wasco
Yes,
has water.
right.
Which
So
one
I'm
is more
speculating
likely?
Wasco has the money.
Which one
I'm
is more
speculating.
likely, caller?
Well, I don't know which one is more likely, but I'm just speculating that Wasco has money because they have the money. They've been announced at those carnival events as a bronze or gold sponsor. So I'm assuming they have the money. So if they have the money, why it is that the average solution cannot get a reliable supply of potable water? What is the excuse?
Well, they have
And
money,
I'm
but they don't
bringing
have
this in
pipes,
the.
caller.
They don't have
They don't have pipes in the ground, caller. They don't have pipelines.
carnival events. But yeah, that is true. But what I'm saying, Angie, is the money that they'll be using to spend for towards all those cultural events, these carnival events, they could use that money to repair the pipes so that people can get a reliable supply of potable water. I'm connecting the dots here by saying to you, to us St. Lucians, the money that is allegedly been channeled or fueled to NBC to host those political talk shows so that the government can spread its propaganda.
Yeah.
It can be used to give Wasco subvention to give us and to provide us with a reliable supply of potable water.
And you're
So
right.
you see where everything connects.
Yeah, you're right.
And not only that, there is there is talk of back pay for Wasco workers. That money could have gone to paying the Wasco workers what is due to them, their back pay.
Speaking
But we
of the
see
back pay,
alleged.
caller, let me just give you a little update. So, months ago, the Prime Minister said that he had given Wasco, he had advanced Wasco $1 million to pay their back pay. But I have it on good authority. Wasco workers have not received their back pay.
So where did that money go?
Pas de moche mon pourquoi aller autant l'école pour me répondre.
So where the money gone?
Wrong medium. Let me see if there's a pre-cabinet press briefing and I'll come back to you. Let me tell you where the money gone. But for now,
Okay.
all I know
So
is from Wasco workers themselves. Now, there are two categories of worker at Wasco. They have the monthly paid workers and they have the daily paid workers. And some of these workers, all of them that I know, and I know a mixture of daily paid and monthly paid workers, are saying that they have not received their back pay. So if that is not the case, then
so
Wasco
so if
has some explaining to do.
yeah, Wasco have a lot of explaining to do, Angie, because if the Prime Minister is saying that he gave them monies to pay towards the back pay, and the workers at Wasco are saying allegedly that they're saying that they have not gotten their back pay or their bonus, whatever you want to call it, however you want to call it, something is wrong. Something is wrong. Where the money gone? But I'm saying all this, and I want to end there. I don't want to be too long. I want to give somebody else a chance to talk to make a contribution. All I am saying is, I have never seen more corruption than this. That allegedly our tax money is used to give it to a radio station to push a government's propaganda. The only jurisdiction that this thing happens, or Angie, is under the jurisdiction or in communist countries. That is the only jurisdiction or country this thing happens. And I'm just saying, St. Lucia, pay attention to what's happening. That allegedly, and I say that with caution because we have to verify the authenticity of the letter because we have to be careful. However, if that is true, then this government have to answer. The Prime Minister, who happens to be the Minister of Finance, must come out and make a statement and say to the solution people, look here, based on this information, it's false. The Dr. McDowell must make a statement, a public statement, and come out and say whether it's true or not, because it's worrying. And that is just the height of corruption, Angie. And we have to speak out and we have to pay close attention to what's happening, to this situation, and I'll be doing my own investigation on privately to ensure that whatever findings that I come up with, I will certainly update Hard Talk listeners. Have a blessed day, Angie.
Thank you so much. Guys, as much as you want to see that the letter needs to be verified and whatever, I agree. But you know what else? The damage has already been done. Because it is the perception of corruption that taints a government. And this, my friends, that is that is not small perception, you know. Remember, it was the perception of corruption that toppled the Alan Shastney administration. And there was nothing close to the magnitude of what this letter implies ever alleged about the Alan Shastney administration. Whether or not the contents of this letter is true, we still need clarity and a closer look at how this SLP government has been using taxpayers' funds, where the money has been funneled to, and we need a closer look at the SSDF and that $110 million that disappeared into their coffers and then flew away like butterflies on a bright, sunny, sunshiny summer day. Somebody says here, Angie McDowell is pro-labor, hence the reason Sir John wanted to send him packing back to St. Vincent. Don't be surprised if they put expired champagne on NBC. Well, I'm not going to say anything about this one. Somebody says here, Shelton was digging a hole for the UWP administration, but it looked like he fall in that hole. You think wickedness plain? God is not sleeping. Somebody says, not only Shelton, there's another turned tongue, the one who the radio station was closed on him. Now he got it back to spread lies. Somebody says, if this SLP administration can engage in corruption to maintain a show, what do you believe that they would not do to win an election? Somebody says, you mean this letter was verified? The letter has not been verified, not by myself anyway. But it implies that government funding is being used to fund the SLP's political campaign, or to finance the SLP's campaign, and that is very, very troubling and very damning. Somebody says we need a formal complaint made against the government to recoup this money. If it is that this is found to be true and authentic, yes, we do. Somebody says, gee, he will get back. Some show will pick him up to spread lies for the coming election. Wait and see. Somebody says, caller, you know that will not happen. Another says, Angie services equate to money. Somebody says, all the money gone in the hairy bank, LOL. Somebody says, Angie, maybe water. I don't believe it's money. Somebody says, caller. Oh Lord, somebody says, caller, if PJP speaks against this letter, we will definitely know that the letter is true and PJP will be trying to mislead as usual. Another says, writer, be careful. Next thing the man gives you expired Viagra. Lord have mercy. Somebody says, PJP is just announcing things to make people believe that he's doing so many things. But he is lying. He is just promising things on the air. You remember the tax refund, the nice workers? I wonder, have those nice workers been... Somebody says, will we get rid of the special prosecutor when we win? Let me tell you, the last thing UWP needs to do is get rid of that special prosecutor. What we need to do is make him work for the money that he has already collected. We have a caller on the line. Good afternoon to you, caller. You are on the air.
Good afternoon to you, Miss Angie. And I wish to say happy Monday, but the weekend spoiled everything.
Yes, it did. Yes,
So,
it did.
condolences to the family, friends,
Yeah.
relatives. You know, and if you don't mind me, I just want to go back a little bit on some things that we touched on.
Yeah, go ahead.
The first of all, we said that right now we have $900 million in debt within 3 months.
Yes, for the
Right.
past 3 months, the government of St. Lucia has borrowed $900 million. I think it's over $900 million.
Okay, and I don't know. So if you know, I'm asking to help me with this. How much of that is part of the original budget that he had of the $2.18 billion?
Caller, I have no idea. Let me tell you why. Because the out of that money, $600 million was borrowed before the budget was announced.
Yep.
600
So,
million,
and you
sorry.
know what?
600 million, sorry. So we don't even know if that is part of the budget or if it was part of the previous budget. We have no idea. That money is there in the in between. It's in limbo. We don't know. We don't know who know it, who's it family, where it come from. We just don't know.
All we know, it's on us.
All we know is we have to pay it back.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, Angie, if with over $300 million in regards to Century, we are still in that mess. We're really screwed with that $900 million.
Caller.
Anyway, let's move on. And I want to touch on the statement PJP made about the members going to deposit the gratuity checks, they call it, and the bank's questioning them and stuff like that.
Did he say that? Did he say gratuity checks? Or did he say?
Honestly, Angie, this guy says so many things.
I don't think he mentioned gratuity checks, a caller. I don't know. I can go back and listen, but I know he said when people go to the banks are disrespecting people in the name of compliance. Yep. If somebody come and deposit a little $1,000 US, they want to know where you get it from, who give it to you, and so on and so forth.
Well, these guys, they're good at trying to distract people, you know. But at the same time, Angie, this guy, he knows exactly what he's doing. And if the money is from government, I think every government member would most likely have a check with a letter stating the purpose of the money. So, for him
but caller, why would a politician? I'm just thinking here, brainstorming. Why would a St. Lucian politician have $1,000 US to put in the bank? St. Lucia does not pay her politicians in US, does she?
Not that I know of.
Okay. I'm just asking. In the immortal words of another politician, I'm just asking.
In all fairness, Angie, there's nothing wrong about it. You know. So that's why I brought this up, because that's what I'm thinking. You know, and technically, what are the odds of a government member having a foreign currency to come and deposit? You know.
That's why the bank needs to ask. That's why the bank needs to ask where you get it from, where the money from.
Exactly. The deputy minister, another thing he said the UWPs are stealing rah and whatever. In the same talks of them saying, no, we need to move forward and all that kind of stuff, and he's saying that kind of thing, huh? And he said that in regards to the asinine deal that he signed. And he's saying if they are still in Aurora, what will they do next? Because there's so much more to come. Based on that statement, Angie, I think this guy, they already called the hangman on us as citizens of this country.
When you say the hangman, what do you mean by that, caller?
Angie, they're going to hang us not even hang us, they're going to hang us upside down to take every penny out of our pockets.
Well, that is why I strategically do not wear clothes with pockets. They won't catch me.
We're not in a good situation with these guys at all. And you want to echo something that you said many times. PJP tells us the truth. We are the ones who need to discern.
Exactly.
Because, and he said that time after time after time. And he said they have to take the country by any means necessary. Well, the current administration, now, in regards to this letter that's just surfaced last week, that's just one of the many situations that proves what he said also. You have to
well, as a former caller reminded
you have to protect
me, as a previous caller reminded me, This letter has not been verified and is still an allegation. So this letter alleges that
Yep.
the government is engaged in this kind of behavior, but we need some clarification. And I'm hoping,
Yeah,
because
that
it
is.
took
I
3 minutes, caller, 3 minutes, for the St. Lucia Labour Party to issue a press release, a press statement when Alan Shastney visited the St. Jude's
the
construction
same.
site. 3 minutes.
Yep. And even in certain
This
instances,
letter has been
prior to the.
circulating in the public sphere for days. I believe
Yep.
wholeheartedly that if this letter was a fabrication, not only would McDowell Broadcasting Service Corporation come out and say something, but it would be refuted unequivocally
By the assembly.
by the SLP. Now, it's one of two things. It's not because they don't know it's there, but it's either it is true, but they never expected people to discern the underlying meaning of the letter.
Yep.
They expected people simply to focus on the Shelton Daniel being out of a job part. So let's see
Yep.
what happens.
But then again, maybe on Thursday, a certain person might speak against it and see how much is not true. But in light of that, prior to the last election, they would take less than 3 minutes to try to deflect before this particular person became the agriculture minister. I heard her many times. She was the mouthpiece. Always listen to official statements by the government, the solution government, and all that kind of nonsense. No, she's trying to come and talk about people breaking the laws and all that kind of stuff. And your government there are so many incidents or allegations where your government are not abiding by the same laws that they implement. So now they're doing all these. Well, as you're going back to the letter, these are allegations of them making attempts to protecting their victory. But Angie, I'm not surprised because look at the situation with the police and the benefits. That is not something that should have been in the first place, but it happened anyway. So that tells a lot on what kind of government or governance we have in this country.
It's very telling.
So
you're right.
Exactly. The chances of the government being credited or given the benefit of the doubt are very, as they say, slim or second to none. These guys, they don't have a good reputation, and it makes it easy for people to believe almost anything that goes on right now. And then
here's another thing,
he wants to turn around and get upset.
Here's another thing.
Sorry?
Here's another thing. A reason why. Another reason that gives credence in a way to this letter. The CPMC, the Carnival Management and Planning Committee, is headed by the owner of a media house in St. Lucia. And that media house has scored the lion's share of all carnival advertising from the government ever since this individual has stepped at the helm of this institution. And I recall that there has been cries from several other media houses complaining that they were cut out because when government is giving ads for any event, the modus operandi or the way things are normally done is that they utilize every single media house and they advertise on their peak hours. They send it out to everybody. They do a blast.
Yep.
That has been what has obtained in the past. But ever since this individual stepped at the helm of this institution, it is
Everything changed.
only specific media houses that get those advertisements. And when the other media houses started to make a fuss during the election campaign, you saw them taking over the most popular talk shows to spread their message. So you
Oh,
would
yeah.
find they bombarded Timothy Polio's newsspin with all of their campaign advertising because
Advertisements, yep.
that was where the people were listening. That was where they were going to get the most bang for their buck. Not because they were supporting Timothy,
Exactly.
but because they were strategically placing their advertisements in the ears of the
Advertisements,
people.
of course. And what's interesting is even that same Timothy is asking, inviting them to at least call, and not the people, not the people,
But
not the
that's
people
not
going
what
to
they need
spider.
him. That's not what they need him for. They needed him to
Exactly.
spread the message.
And I mean, I agree with the previous caller, but the truth is, given the fact that they've infested every little corner, they don't. It's pretty much. It's kind of like it's not necessary for them to even do things the right way anymore
Mm-hmm.
because they know they control the outcome regardless.
Yeah.
You know. So in that instance, and yeah, I want to take the I want to steal an opportunity to encourage
Speaker,
everybody,
right?
Hold on. Sorry
every
about that,
right
Colin.
think. No, it's okay. Every right thinking person listening, following, or even those who will be hearing this broadcast late on a later day to speak up against the ills of the country. When we, even on social media, these guys, they come and they post their nonsense, the garbage, the propaganda. We know the truth. We can't answer them with the truth. Let us do it. Because usually when we put the truth to them, they stay quiet.
Yeah.
We cannot let this thing continue because the solution, as we know it, soon it will be no more.
Yeah.
Pretty much. We will be literally having to beg for permission to do the norms in our own country. On a CIP or whatever, I have a strong feeling, Angie, that a lot of the people who obtained these passports, they did not just obtain it because they wanted to be a part of solution or because they want to better solution so that everybody could reap the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so soon it might not be for their own self. Some of them they're probably old, but they're like, oh, here we have children, we could get this, let our children get it, then they could get property or whatever. Then you find the born citizens, are being pushed back in a corner more and more, and there's less for us.
Yeah.
You know, so as I said, I support what the last one was saying, but in all of this money trying to better our country, like you even said it to me. You reminded me of it. That does not win votes. So there we are. This is the main reason why this will not happen under this administration, unless if we force him to do it.
Yep. Thank you for
So
that
I'll
call.
let somebody else take a chance. Thank you for having me.
You're
Taking my
welcome.
call,
Yeah.
and I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye bye.
Thanks.
Well, if the people don't want to speak, either you stand up for something or you fall for any and everything. Somebody says the higher grade persons are also complaining about waiting for their monies from government. Somebody's clarifying, yes, he said gratuity checks from Treasury, the banks require a source of funds. The banks are going to require a source of funds anytime. Let me just clarify here. The banks are going to require a source of funds any and every time there is any unusually large deposit on your account. This is not the banks being troublesome and minding people's business. This is the bank enshrining legislation passed down from the central banks. This is the banks following anti money laundering protocols and KYC requirements. And the Prime Minister, as Minister of Finance and as a member of the ECCBU, he knows all about it. But it is politically beneficial for the Prime Minister to pretend that he cannot understand English and he cannot understand regulations. Good afternoon to you, caller. You are on the air.
Hello, Angie.
How are you?
I am, oh no, Angie, let me call you back in 1 minute. I'll call you back.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. This caller must have. Guys, let's continue with the comments on the platform. Somebody says Philippine knows very well what he said there. He spoke directly to the higher authority who is responsible for watching on the corruption with the money laundering network. But he played it in a way like he's speaking in favor of the layman, making them believe that he is speaking in their favor. Somebody says, Adji, remember Richard Frederick fired at McDowell and the reporters on NBC? So I believe Mr. McDowell fired right back at Frederick AP. That's it. Somebody says, if I was Tim, I'm telling you, I would not take one of their ads knowing the logistics behind this government. Another person is agreeing, saying, true, PJP knows that very well. Somebody says, this PM and his bandwagons are just lawless, just to get careless folks in their corner. Guys, it is 5 minutes past 4. Time for us to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with the final segment of the show. I hope, full disclosure, I hope Mr. Chico doesn't mind me taking a little bit of his time on full disclosure, because you guys need to hear this part. Don't touch that dial. Stay with us. We will be right back.
You already know the power of Licks products on your clothes and household. You Licks your whites and clothes, leaving them fresh and scented. You Licks your dishes, your hands protected with vitamin E. You Licks your floors, even Licks your toilet. Now expand and bring you 3 new scents in our fabric software: Fall Sunshine, Summer Sunshine, and Thousand Flowers. Licks the stains off of colored clothes with Licks 100% bleach. Licks wets even harder with warm chemicals, bars in deodorant and antibacterial. So let's tiredness and bacteria out and refresh your tired body. Your products giving you licks? Then choose Licks from Clean Distribution Week. Available at all leading supermarkets.
Meet the summer heat with a relaxing glide down the River. Leave your cares behind as you immerse yourself in the tranquility of nature. Kids home from school, no problem. Take them home on an unforgettable adventure. St. Lucia Bamboo Rafting introduces its Summer River Special. Start with a welcome cocktail to set the mood. Then enjoy a 90-minute guided tour and a cooler filled with drinks for your refreshment. Tours start from 9:30 a.m. and go out every 2 hours, with the last tour at 3:30 p.m. Adults pay 100 EC per person. Kids ages 5 to 11 years old, 50 EC. We are located in the Rosal Valley, next to St. Lucia Distillers. For reservations, call 1-758-720-2020. Don't forget to like St. Lucia Bamboo Rafting on Facebook and Instagram. St. Lucia Bamboo Rafting. Let us take you from stressed to relaxed in 90 minutes flat.
Pretty soon my land will be gone in the hands of
Fire FM 107.7 presents Full Disclosure, a hard-hitting political program bringing you the facts on political issues. Hosted by Foster Disclosure this Monday and every Monday, 4 to 7 p.m. with Foster Chico.
Looking for a new way to enjoy your St. Lucia vacation? Book a tailor-made tour with Seabreeze Adventures. Explore the island's untouched natural beauty as you visit hidden coves and beaches along the coastline with any one of our whole or half-day excursions. We offer a variety of adventure opportunities, including sport fishing, sunset cruises, island adventure, whale and dolphin watching, and water taxi service. To book, contact Captain Warren at telephone number 1758 713 3196. Seabreeze Adventures, not just a tour, but an adventure.
Is your solar water heater tank leaking, worn out, or no longer performing efficiently? Upgrade your unit without the cost of a completely new system. Tropical Solar now offers tank upgrades and replacements for existing solar water heating units, including systems from other brands. Keep your existing heating panel and replace the tank with a reliable Tropical Solar tank designed for lasting performance and efficiency. Need a panel replacement too? Tropical Solar can help with that as well. Call Tropical Solar today for more information. In Castries, 453-1868. In Grosley, 450-8201. And in Vieux-Fort, 454-6344. Tropical Solar, giving new life to your existing solar water heating system.
We're back here on Fire 107.7 FM, and this is Hard Talk. Now, today we are discussing the deficiencies and lack of transparency and other shady things that we are noticing about this government. But that's not even all. I mean, some days I really want to come here and provide some sort of positive feedback about this government. And let me tell you guys, this is becoming harder and harder to do. We have a call on the line. Good afternoon to you, caller. You are on the air.
Hello, Angie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I don't know. Is there pollen or is there, according to them, Sahara dust? Or is it
There's
just from all the
Sahara. There's
bombs?
Sahara dust haze.
I don't believe that's Sahara dusting. I think that's from all the bombings that's going on in the east, and we have wind shear and whatnot. And I think that, but that's me. That's me because you can't be dropping bombs in countries on the other side of the world and don't expect it to get
Travel.
into the atmosphere and affect people.
Right.
Yeah, and travel. So are they telling us? I don't even want to start there, but are they telling us the effects of dropping of those bombs, what effects it has on humanity right now, and all the upgrades we having, where they are coming from? But anyway, people will think I'm crazy, so let me not go there. Let me not say HAARP and CERN. Those who know. Angie, let's talk about St. Lucia and what's going on. So there's a letter allegedly. We have to say allegedly.
Allegedly
There's a
purporting.
letter, allegedly, thank you, purporting that somebody's show was stopped because the government no longer pays for it. You all realize that when SLP came in as in July, one of the first things SLP did was start hiring reporters into their offices.
The communications
calling-
departments of various
And
government ministries.
that's right. and they have so many different. I don't know if they have. I take it they have many communications departments or
Every
one
ministry has its
communication
own,
department.
every ministry has its own individual communications department.
So let me explain something to you that may have happened. So in all its communications departments, money can be filtered.
Mm-hmm.
Money can be filtered into every department because money has to pay for the communications
Right,
department.
right.
And from these communication departments, monies can pay for this talk show and that talk show and the other talk show and the other talk show.
I don't think that's how it works exactly because the communication departments they put out um, the communiques and videos and reports of every single thing the government does, every policy launch, every activity, everything. So you
Well,
see the work of the
let,
communications
let
departments.
me just I understand what you're saying, but the money has to legitimately come from somewhere for this to happen. And where else would the money come from for these programs to be paid for? What other what other
Caller,
section of government?
caller, somebody says you're very low, so keep the phone close to your mouth. Well, it can
Oh,
come from the
sorry,
treasury.
sorry.
It can come from the
Let me
treasury because remember they said advertising.
So,
I think it most likely if this were to happen, if that it would not come from the communications departments because the communications departments they don't have their own individual treasury or individual financing. They're financed through the Ministry of Finance. People's salaries are paid, um, and equipment is bought or whatever. They don't handle funds. They don't disburse funds. The only government department that I know of that disburses funds is the Treasury. So if it has to come from anywhere, it will come from the Treasury when they're paying for their advertisements. That's the only way it can happen. That's the only way it makes sense.
however it happened, that states, I didn't state it, the letter that is being circulated stated that government can no longer pay for the show. Am I correct or wrong in saying that?
No, it didn't say government can no longer pay for the show. It says
What
the
did it
show
say?
received funding. It purports that the show only received funding from the government for the latter part of 2005 and that MBC can no longer shoulder
2005 or 2025?
2025, sorry, and that
Okay.
MBC can no longer shoulder the bill. And it's saying, it's purporting, it's alleging that the show is supposed to be funded by government financing and advertisements, which they stopped receiving in the latter part of 2025. So MBC
So
has to.
McDowell has to answer to us as to what's. In fact, was that a hint when Richard Wood came out and said to McDowell, to the owner or to whoever at NBC? I don't know. He was talking to somebody. Sometimes I don't listen to him properly. He came out and he said that he was warning whoever it was, the reporters, to do their work and this and that. Was that a hint that it was time to get rid of certain people?
Well, no, what he was saying is that somebody gave them a story, and that he was
Run the story.
upset because he felt that he was not given adequate opportunity to refute the person's claims or to put his version of the events out there, which in a way is a
Also,
fair.
when on a Thursday night when he's sitting on NBC lashing out at everybody, left, right, and center, man, woman, and child, does he give them a chance to refute his stories?
I don't know. He's not a reporter, caller. He's a government minister. There's a difference. A reporter is
Okay.
supposed to provide a balanced view. But my question is, why is he complaining now? Because when they are doing other stories and they're only given a one-sided view in the government's
He does not
favor, he's
complain.
not complaining.
He does not complain. So let us look at Angie, because we're looking at a letter that's out there. We're looking at what the letter has stated, and we're looking at where this money might have come from to cover that that program or whatever for the campaign, because 2025 was a campaign year. We had
That
an election.
that is true.
We had an election in
In
20
December of 2025.
December 2025. Now, the question is, did government use taxpayers' money or CIP money or whatever money, but the money, government's money, belongs to St. Lucia, not to a party. And I understand that's the point that you've been making. Did government use St. Lucia's money during their campaign to fund their program, a program that speaks for them on their behalf during the campaign? Did they use St. Lucia's money to do that?
Well, that's the
And if they
question on
did,
all of our lips, caller.
right, and if they did, do they have, is it a legal thing to do? Now, having said all of this, I mean, over the years, we've seen parties happening at Darren Sammy grounds, right? Red parties, this parties, carnival parties. Let me make that clear.
Well, call them events, caller, because if you say parties, it implies a private thing. But these are events, national events like Color Me Red and
Sweetheart, Color Me Red is not a national event.
well,
Color Me Red comes from a carnival band, Red International.
is Red International still on the? Are they still a band in the sense of carnival revelry, or they just do the
Color Me
events?
Red is not a national event. Now, okay.
Okay, then well, let's say for the sake of argument and accuracy, it's not a national event, but it is a carnival entertainment event. So let's just say entertainment events. When you say parties, it implies that you and I are having a party.
Angie, let us go back to when this was, and this is what we are failing to do. Let us go back to when this was Red International. I'm mentioning the name of the band because Red International had the Color Me Red party as one of their carnival fetes.
Right.
That was a band, a private band owned by private citizens.
Right. And we know who those citizens are. We don't have to go back there.
And we know the usual gang. The usual gang, men in tight pants.
Right. Robin Hood men in tights. Yes, we know.
Yes. Okay? Men in tights. Are you saying to me that those, I'm asking, over the last few years, I have realized that that party has been moved to Darren Sammy grounds. This is still a party that tickets are sold for, that this is happening, that there's VIP, that there's this, that there's that, there's this, the other.
Mm-hmm.
Are these people paying Darren Sammy cricket grounds any monies to use the grounds on any nights that they use it for these private parties? Because those are not carnival. As far as I know,
Mm-hmm.
these are not, and we're going into carnival, we're in the carnival season.
Mm-hmm.
Or should I ask, are these private? Because I knew it was private in the past that had nothing to do with carnival, as in CPMC paying
All
the
right.
carnival
So what
committee,
you're
that
saying,
government
what you're saying,
sponsors
that it was a
paying
band
for
and not
these
a
fets.
national fit. Well,
That's not a national fet
all right, we
that
don't
belong
know.
to a band.
Honestly, caller, that is a very good question, because I am assuming, that these, I'm assuming that Red International is paying for the use of the grounds, but that is
And
just
what about the
speculation.
artists?
Again,
What
that is
about
speculation
artists
on my
that they're
part.
bringing for thousands and thousands of dollars? These who is paying for these fets?
I don't know,
Who
caller.
is really paying the artists? Who's paying this? Who's paying that? Does that now fall under the carnival committee? And if it does, why? Because that
You
is
see,
not
there has
these
been there
parties.
has been a lot of speculation. There has been a
We don't
lot
want
of
to speculate. We're
speculation.
asking questions right now
No, I'm just
because
telling
in
you
the
the
past.
speculation. There has been a lot of speculation, caller, that these artists are being funded through the marketing budget of the Tourism Association.
Now,
But
why
when the
is that?
minister,
That is not. That is.
hold on, let me finish. When the minister was
Sorry, Auntie.
questioned about this, the minister did not answer. He made it sound as if this is crazy. He was like, but in his usual way, the way that he deflects. So we don't know at all what is going on in that regard. We have no idea.
Wasn't there a time in St. Lucia when all funds that were spent on carnival activities that fall under the carnival banner, the St. Lucia carnival banner,
Mm-hmm.
as in the carnival committee that government funds, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
where government funding comes from,
Mm-hmm.
all the funds from government, there was a breakdown where those funds were going?
Um, I would
Wasn't there a time
I
in
would
St. Lucia
suppose
where we
so.
got clear, if $5,000 was paid for Calypso show, if $15,000 went into Queen show, if $20,000 went into this and that and that and that. These are the events that I know that the government has to fund.
Mm-hmm.
But those private shows were being held. I go back to this place called Gaiety
Mm-hmm.
in Pigeon Point, between
Mm-hmm.
Rosalie and Pigeon Point, Massad Industrial Estate.
Right.
Okay, those shows were being held in there,
Mm-hmm.
and people buying tickets and this and that, and whoever performances and whatever that was indoors. But all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
we've noticed that since this government came in 2021, that the grounds, the grounds where our children are supposed to be playing sports, the grounds where they spend what, $80 million?
Hmm.
Question mark, question mark, question mark. Was it $80 million?
I think so.
Question mark, question mark, question mark. To renovate these grounds have been used for people to trample on, have their fets, and we do not even know who is paying for where the monies that pays those artists that these regional and international artists that they bring in to perform, where the monies is coming from to pay those artists, and who is paying for the usage of, they used to pay for using Gate's property.
Yeah.
They were paying for that, but are they paying to use the grounds, Darren Sammy grounds, when they use it? And who is funding those fests? We need to ask these questions, because if we see, we have not been given one figure for Carnival over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Let me say it again. Have we been given, in fact, let me ask the question. Have we been given any figures for how much money government has spent on Carnival in the last 5 years?
Nope.
Have we given a breakdown on how much they spend on Bam Bam Wall, how much they spend on the road, with how much they spend on the road that day? And realistically, they're not the ones spending money on the road. It is the band spending the money on the road. They're the ones selling the costumes. They're the ones that have the band members. They're the ones that hire the trucks. They're the one that.
They asked, hold on, caller, they're spending money, you know. A lot of these bands get subventions.
So now, hear that.
A lot of these bands get subventions. In fact, I would go as far as to speculate that every band gets a subvention.
I need to ask the little band owners if they get a subvention from government, because I've seen them struggle to be able to sell their little costumes for $750 or $650 for them to get people to join their band to go on the road, to make costumes and all of that. What's a subvention they get in? A place to go to make the costumes?
I don't know. But I know they're always talking about subventions.
There is a lot of corruption.
Because they're always saying that government puts so much money into Carnival for subvention of the bands. So, I mean,
we need to ask the question, and these are pertinent things that St. Lucians need to know. We don't know where our money is being spent. We don't know how much of our money is being spent in jazz. We don't have a breakdown of where these monies is being spent. We don't know how much they made from jazz, selling jazz tickets.
Yeah.
We don't know how much they paid in the past. We used to have, they paying Buju Banton $100,000 to come to St. Lucia. Do you remember that? Do you remember the time when people were making noise and saying that they are paying those artists too much money to come to St. Lucia for jazz? Do you remember that? Do you remember which government, which people were keeping, not government, people were keeping the noise at that time? Okay. Figures were made known. Automatically, there had to have been some sort of accountability from the then government to say, listen, this is how much we're paying Amy Winehouse. This is how much we're paying. Do you understand? The figures were being put out there. But these fellas came in 2021, and when it comes to the country's purse, let me say that again, apart from budget, apart from budget, which is an estimation of how much money they spend in there, how much money they spend in there, how much money they spend, that's an estimator. They spend $1 million there, $20 million there, then they borrowing. When the borrowing is done, have we ever been given a breakdown of where these monies have gone to?
Nope. They're like Saharan dust haze in the atmosphere. They're just everywhere. And now we're hearing that some monies during election time found its way, or allegedly may have found its way, into the coffers of NBC.
Exactly. Is it NBC alone? And I ask the question, is it NBC alone? Where else has We St. Lucians are sitting there. We have Alibaba and the 15 thieves.
Ali,
we have
anyway.
a bunch of guys sitting in the cabinet.
But we really have things in
We
St.
have
Lucia. You know, we have Robin Hood Men in Tights, and we have Alibaba and the
we have
15
Robin
Thieves.
Hood types. We have all sorts, all types. We have not been given one set of figures as to expenditure for carnival, as to what we've made back. The country pulled in X amount of money for carnival because so many people came. Jazz, we spent X amount of money on getting those entertainers to come in to entertain, the international entertainers, our local entertainers, we paid them this, that. We had 60 booths. Every booth paid that amount of money. We made this from the booths, this, that. We have not received any accountability when it comes to the country's purse under the current government or from the current government since they came in 2021. How could we St. Lucians sit back and let this happen?
On a point of order, caller, the very first reiteration of the jazz festival and carnival, the Prime Minister did say that $8 million was allocated for all of the festivals that year. But that was all the information we got. We didn't hear anything else. When we asked the Minister of Investment and Tourism about it, he said it cannot be quantified. And that is the answer we continue to get year in and year out, that it cannot be quantified.
Thank you for making that statement, Angie, because I was coming to that. How, I'm asking the Minister of Tourism then, or now, because I think he's still the Minister of Tourism.
He's still the Minister of Tourism.
He's still the Minister of CIP. He's not anymore?
He's still?
Okay. I'm going to ask him why it cannot be quantified. You see, put the question straight. If we're spending X amount of money on Queen Show, we're spending X amount of money on Queen Show.
Right.
If we're spending X amount of money on Calypso finals, Calypso semifinals, the various shows, we're spending X amount of money on the various shows. If we spend, how come suddenly we cannot give a breakdown of the figures and your excuse is it can be quantified? What kind, and you're a minister in St. Lucia? All ministers have to give a breakdown of where their money goes when they are given it, when their ministry is given it to do certain things. Yours cannot be quantified. The same minister who has so many allegations hanging over his head, starting with this cricket thing, then to Jufali, then to
Rovergate.
Sorry?
Rovergate.
Then to GPH / St. Lucia Port Cruise Ports or whatever they want to call it now. Then to all the carnival activities, all the jazz activities. You know how many activities has happened in the last 5 years? 5.
Answer, say,
5 carnivals, 5 jazz, 5 this.
And associate events. And associated events.
And I take that back, not 5 carnivals, because may I add, that then we have community carnivals that they seem to be pushing hard,
Let's say seasons.
hard.
Let's make it easy and say 5 carnival seasons.
Right. So, but we have how many community carnivals? So much so, today, I'm hearing if you can't afford to buy costumes for the main event, which is
Jump in the
Castries,
community. Jump in the community.
go to your community and jump your carnival there instead and shut up because that's what you can afford.
Yes.
Could you believe today
In
that
fact,
pompous,
the minister said at last week's pre-cabinet press briefing, if you have $750 in your pocket, do not come and say you want to jump in the $3,000 band. Look for a band that
premium bands.
Right. Look for a band that's selling.
You cannot join premium bands. That's why we have a community carnival. So you know what they're doing?
He said there are cheaper bands. Go and jump with the cheaper bands.
Excuse me, let me put it in layman's terms. All you country people, go and jump in the little band in your community, on your street, in your village. But don't try and come here to premium carnival where we have all our stars coming and we bring our stars and things. That for y'all.
Don't come and make us.
That?
That's not for the poorest. The poorest of the poor. You remember the Prime Minister said these houses are not for people; they are for the poorest of the poor.
They're for the poorest of the poor. Well, this main carnival is not for people.
No, this main carnival is for people, and the community carnival is for the poorest of the poor.
It's for the poorest of the poor. So, poorest of the poor, in your community and jump carnival there alone. You cannot jump. You can no longer jump carnival in the city of Castries. That is what you're voted for. The arrogance of these people.
Now, speaking of that, caller, just to add to what you're saying, and I wanted to mention that today. Thank you for reminding me, because I saw a post on Facebook. Somebody posted about this on Facebook saying that the locals, carnival is our heritage, it's our culture. And we are being priced out of a celebration of our culture that is dating all the way back to slavery. We're being priced out of it for visitors, and that is unfair. And somebody responded, and to me, I was so aggrieved by that response, because let me tell you something. It seems to me that every time somebody in St. Lucia tries to make a valid point, every time somebody in St. Lucia tries to come out and highlight a serious issue, there's always some idiot who will come and deflect and talk absolute foolishness.
Yes.
This person says, oh, you're talking about the price. Well, if I want to jump my carnival, I'm not talking about the price. You don't have to pay it yourself. You can go and take a loan. Really?
Could you believe? And that's what has been happening for the last few years. People have been taking loans to go and jump carnival. People are literally taking loans to go and jump carnival because they want to be in the main carnival in Castries. Remember, we never used to have those community carnival things before, except Denry.
Yeah.
Denry used to them their thing. Choiseul used to have a Jouvet. Soufre have their Jouvet. People used to their Jouvet, but there was no carnival as such in those places.
Yeah. And then all in a sudden, Denry Carnival was just taken over. It was a private thing, from the people in the community. And it was just taken over by the constituency office. Yes.
And Grosile and Soufre. So now you're telling me that they're pushing funds into 12 different community carnivals. I'm just saying 12. Then they're pushing funds into a main carnival. When we used to have one big main carnival in St. Lucia, and maybe one or two little districts would have had their little Jouvet and jump up and whatever. The people just having their fun around carnival time.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're telling the people they can't jump in mainstream carnival. They have to jump in their little villages and because they can't afford premium carnival bands, premium
Sounds
prices for
like
carnival
slavery times
bands.
all over again, doesn't it, Caller? The slaves were not allowed into the ballrooms of the white
That's
planters, and so they
correct.
came up with carnival in their own little
Who
communities
is the
so that they
master
can
now?
enjoy themselves. And now even that is being taken from us. Anyway, thank you,
That's
Caller,
right.
because we cannot take up too
Who
much of
is the master now? Who's
yes.
the master?
Thank you so much for that,
Huh.
Caller. Thank you for that.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
J.
Boy, I tell you, even our heritage. Ironically, it's the Minister of Heritage taking away our heritage. But, guys, before we end the show, and we're very close to ending, let me just read those comments quickly because I do have a very important part that I have to play these two videos, and I do have to make way for Foster. I don't want any problems, so please bear with me. We're closing the phone lines because this is very important. So somebody's saying here, Angie, this government lacks. Oh, we read that already. No, this government lacks transparency and proper accountability with all these allegations surrounding the CIP. They are yet to come clean with the people. I don't think they will with a letter circulating. Somebody says about Wasco. Allegedly, there was $1 million transferred to Wasco monthly. We don't know how long this lasted, if at all. However, there is technology designed to manipulate the weather. This is something that we can do to increase our water levels. Doing this after dredging the dam is bound to yield better results. I bet that these guys saw the dam when they were in. Hold on, I bet you these guys saw the dam when they were in Dubai. Dubai is a desert and they have that dam to prove that they solved their water problems. Then again, why am I wasting my time talking about advanced technology when we as a country are looking for trees to make canoe? Please pardon my negligence. Somebody says, haven't heard much about the UK visa restrictions. Did it affect our traveling? And did the government reconstruct the CIP program to ease the travel restrictions? Yes and no, respectively. Yes, the UK restrictions is against St. Lucians. No, the government did not reconstruct anything. They just told us to drink water and mind our business. Somebody says, Angie, PJP asked to speculate, remember? Somebody says, very good question, caller. Another says, caller, we don't deserve the dollar amount. We only deserve to be told that we get record bumper crowds. Somebody says, but when we speculate, he tries to get upset. Another says, we also have a government doing things in the likes of the way Superman dresses himself. Jesus. You guys are killing me. Another says, after when all the carnival events is over, Ernest Hill, favorite quote, we reach record breaking in numbers, but yet will not give a proper financial record of the finances spent on the major cultural event. Somebody said, eh bien, we finish. Thank you, Jesus. I'm not jumping mass. So if you want to jump mass, start going and do AA. My goodness. Somebody says, he right, read and ready. Guys, I have two videos to play for you guys, and it is imperative that these videos play because you guys need to listen to this. So the first one is a presentation in the House by the Minister of Investment, and I need you guys to pay careful attention to what is being proposed. Here goes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in this honorable House with a profound sense of responsibility and immense pride to present the reading of the seminal piece of legislation, the Regulated Substances, Safety and Security of Radiation Sources Bill 2026. It is with responsibility, Mr. Speaker, because it is a very, very critical piece of legislation for the safety and security of St. Lucians. And also pride, Mr. Speaker, because
As we mentioned a short while ago, both the member for Soufre, for Sajak and myself, the team that has worked on putting this piece of legislation together must be commended for the outstanding work that they've done, both the staff and the RSA and the AG chambers. Mr. Speaker, this bill represents yet another critical milestone in our government's commitment to putting people first. In this instance, by modernizing our legislative architecture, protecting the health and well-being of our citizens, and safeguarding the pristine and world-renowned environment of our beloved Helen. Mr. Speaker, you'll recall that in November 2023, the Honorable Member for Soufre, Sajak, stood before this August chamber with the support of her colleagues and this administration to present the Foundational Regulated Substances Bill. At that time, we articulated a bold, progressive, and innovative vision. We realized that a fragmented regulatory approach to complex, evolving, and technically advanced industries was inefficient and archaic. Instead of creating isolated, small-scale regulatory bodies for every single emerging substance, we designed a regulatory mechanism, as a member from Soufre Saltabas herself just explained, that what started off as an engagement on cannabis became exactly what I am describing, the creation of this overarching regulatory mechanism. Then we promised the people of St. Lucia that the RSA would serve as a flexible platform capable of assuming oversight over diverse and complex regimes as our society and economy advance. Today, Mr. Speaker, we are fulfilling the first part of that promise. Having established the structural machinery of the RSA, we can now expand its mandate to oversee a highly technical and critically important domain, the safety and security of ionizing radiation sources. Mr. Speaker, to understand the magnitude and necessity of this bill, we must first demystify what radiation is and recognize its role in our modern society. Radiation is a broad term that elicits a level of concern and anxiety. Members of the public often bring up concerns about microwaves and phones. Yes, Mr. Speaker, these are forms of radiation, but this is not what we have sought to provide a regulatory framework for. What this bill seeks to address, Mr. Speaker, is ionizing radiation. Ionizing radiation is a powerful form of energy that, when harnessed correctly, provides extraordinary benefits, but when left unregulated, poses invisible yet catastrophic risks to human tissue and genetic material. Mr. Speaker, these forms of radiation can be dangerous to people if they are overexposed because they can alter chemical structure, damage living tissue, and yes, result in cancers, other illnesses, and death. Mr. Speaker, many citizens believe that these forms of radiation are a far of concern, reserved only for nuclear-powered nations. But the reality, Mr. Speaker, is that ionizing radiation is already actively present within our borders and is integrated into technology which benefits our daily lives. It drives the core diagnostic and treatment mechanisms in our healthcare sector. Every time a solution undergoes an X-ray, a CT scan, or a life-saving mammography procedure, they are interacted with ionizing radiation apparatus that this bill recognizes as what is called radiation generators. In our industrial sectors, radiation generators and sealed sources are utilized for non-destructive material testing, soil density measurements, and infrastructure verification. Even within our homes and commercial buildings, everyday consumer products like the old generation smoke detectors utilize tiny control amounts of ionizing radiation to protect lives from fires. When adequately regulated and properly used, we can benefit from the positives of these materials. That does not mean, Mr. Speaker, that we should not ensure that all risks are considered and mechanisms are put in place to ensure any risks are mitigated. Mr. Speaker, because radiation is invisible to the human senses, it possesses an inherent risk profile that we must take seriously. Without stringent regulatory controls to govern the importation, use, and exposure to sources, we risk them being misused, abandoned, lost, stolen, or illicitly transferred, resulting in severe national security risks and health and environmental hazards. Currently, St. Lucia's legal framework governing these substances is anchored in the outdated Radioactive Materials Act, Cap 1117, a law enacted in 1949, a completely different era. Mr. Speaker, this act is wholly inadequate for the technical complexities of 2026. We cannot protect a modern society with archaic tools. So this bill provides the essential statutory framework to govern the safe and secure use, possession, transport, and digital and disposal of radioactive material, ensuring that our people can benefit from modern technological advances without compromising our health or safety. Mr. Speaker, St. Lucia does not exist in a vacuum. We are a proud, responsible, and respected member of the global community. As technology collapses geographical boundaries, our domestic laws must align with international safety benchmarks. This bill is also a direct response to our international commitments and reflect our active partnerships with global standard-setting organizations like the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA. The IAEA, established as an autonomous body within the United Nations system, serves as the global intergovernmental forum for scientific and technical cooperation in the peaceful use of nuclear energy and radiation sources. As a state party to radiation-related agreements, St. Lucia is mandated to establish a national legislative framework that ensures radiation sources are securely protected throughout the useful lives and safely managed at the end of their life cycle. The IAEA strictly outlines that every territory must, 1, assess its domestic threats and vulnerabilities regarding radioactive sources based on the potential for malicious acts or loss of control. 2, implement statutory security measures to deter, detect, and delay unauthorized access, theft, or removal of radioactive materials. And 3, empower a competent national regulatory body with the explicit authority to attach unambiguous conditions to licenses, verify the trustworthiness of personnel, and protect confidential security information. Mr. Speaker, in the absence of a comprehensive legislative framework, our nation previously relied on the Bureau of Standards, serving as an interim regulator to bridge the gap with the IAEA. While the Bureau performed creditably under its constrained mandate, it was never structurally engineered to act as a permanent, specialized nuclear and radiation enforcement agency. By passing this bill, we formally transition from temporary ad hoc arrangements to a definitive world-class regulatory framework. This bill, Mr. Speaker, satisfies our obligations under international agreements, allowing St. Lucia to seamlessly interface with international databases. participate in regional threat information exchanges, benefit from niche training, and utilize global technical assistance programs to bolster our domestic security.
Now, I don't know if you understood everything that he said, but the important part is that they are putting together a regulatory framework. Now, I want you to hear Alan Chasney's response to that very bill. Take a listen.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the bill. But in supporting the bill and hearing the members' eloquent, emotional presentation this morning as to its virtues and its necessity, which I fully agree with. But I have to tell you, Mr. Speaker, the genuineness of some of the things that he said, I question. I question him, Mr. Speaker, because when we allow politics to get in the way of what is right, and I want to use the member's words, and I'm paraphrasing, and I apologize. If I get it wrong, I'm sure the member would stand on a point of order. That his government is prepared to do the difficult things, and that coming into amend a bill like this, instituting a license scheme, and all of a sudden regulating it, maybe to a greater extent than it's been before, seems that there would be pushback, but you're prepared to accept the pushback, the responsibility of doing this because this is for people's health and safety. And by that, but the hypocrisy of some of those statements, Mr. Speaker. Because I remember when we were in this house and we were passing a license scheme for charcoal. Thank you so much. No, it was always a licensing scheme for charcoal, but that's not what you sold it as. The criticism is that we were taxing charcoal, and that was the furthest thing from the truth. And now that we have history to reflect on it, it was never a tax on the business. It was a license scheme in order to control who was producing charcoal, but more importantly, where they were producing it. And persons who were spray painting the cars, and that's what it was, and it was always, and the presentation was the same. Let's go back and play the tapes, okay? So all of a sudden, something that was good, that was difficult at the time, in order to preserve exactly what this is trying to preserve, which is the health and the safety of consumers, persons who had been complaining for years, who suffered from asthma in our own communities, in every single community, every single parliamentarian would have had persons suffering from the same thing. And the Ministry of Health listened, the technocrats put together a regime, came to the House in the form of an SI, and the then opposition raised its backs that we were taxing charcoal, we were preventing people from producing charcoal. But Mr. Speaker, the opposition, this opposition, will not find itself in that state of hypocrisy and will not put politics above the needs of the people. And that is why I stood up and said initially, I support the bill. It's good. I only hope that the minister is genuine in that the initiative to do this came from within and not like many other things that affect us in St. Lucia comes from the outside and becomes a precursor, a requisite. And if we don't listen, then there are penalties to be paid because we're not conforming to international standards. I hope that that was not the case. And I hope that we saw this need ourselves and took the initiative and then requested the support from outside in order to modernize and put best practices in place. So I applaud the government for this initiative. I think it's a good thing. And I hope that, like a lot of other pieces of legislation that we have, we put the support into the technical staff that we can be the regulators of this, because the member will know that radiation is being used all over the place. In households, some of us don't even know that. And the question is, how are we going to do the audits? How are we going to hold people accountable? We have the legislation to give a license. We have a legislation to suspend a license. We have a legislation to revoke a license. And I only hope that we adhere to it. So I stand in support of this bill wholeheartedly, without any reservations, and will play no politics in speaking about the fallout that might happen because of a licensing regime. But
There you go, guys. This has been Hard Talk. I need to make way now for Mr. Foster Chico coming in with full disclosure. Have a wonderful afternoon. Don't touch that dial because Foster's going to be, well, he's here already and giving me looks. So have a wonderful day. I hope you guys understood exactly what was being said. I hope the pieces have clicked in your mind, and I hope we are going to get a chance to dive deeper into this very, very thing next time on Hard Talk. Have a good day, guys. Thank you for being here. Stay tuned for Foster Chico coming up next with full disclosure. Bye bye.
You already know the power